Welcome back to OldCoin Secrets, where history meets hidden fortune. Today we're diving deep into one of America's most iconic and unbelievably valuable half-dollars ever made, the 1794 flowing hair half-dollar. This isn't just an old coin. It's a piece of American history, forged in the very first years of the U.S. Mint. And with surviving examples selling for over $1 million, this coin proves that rarity, beauty, and legacy can all fit in the palm of your hand. The birth of a nation's coinage. The story begins in 1794, only 2 years after the Coinage Act of 1792 established the United States Mint. America was young, ambitious, and still defining its identity, and that identity was to be stamped in silver. The Philadelphia Mint, the nation's first, was struggling to produce coins with limited equipment. Each coin was struck by hand, one blow at a time, using crude screw presses powered by human muscle. The flowing hair design was created by Robert Scott, the first chief engraver of the U.S. Mint. His vision? A bold, symbolic representation of liberty, not a queen, not a goddess, but the living spirit of America itself. On the obverse, liberty's hair flows freely in the wind, a symbol of freedom and independence. On the reverse, a small bald eagle rests on a rock, surrounded by a delicate wreath, an early emblem of the young republic. Every detail was meant to remind Americans that this was a nation born from courage and ideals, a coin ahead of its time. The 1794 flowing hair half-dollar was among the first silver coins struck by the United States Mint. Mint officials experimented with weights, metals, and designs, trying to perfect the process. Made of 89.24% silver and 10.76% copper, it weighed around 1348 grams. And even though it seems simple today, each one was a technical challenge. Dies cracked easily, presses jammed, and each coin came out just a little different, giving collectors today small variations that make every piece unique. It's said that only 23,464 coins were struck that year, a small number even by 18th century standards. And of those, only a couple hundred survive in any condition today. Imagine that, the rest were lost, melted, or worn out centuries ago. The design that defined an era. Let's look closely at the artistry. Obverse, a front. Liberty facing right, hair flowing. Surrounded by 15 stars representing the states of the Union in 1794. The word liberty crowns the top and below, the year 1794. Simple yet striking. Reverse, back. A delicate eagle perched within a wreath, no shield, no aggression, just grace. Around it, the inscription reads, United States of America. There's no denomination printed. Back then, people knew a half-dollar by size and metal. The edge lettering reads 50 cents or half a dollar, one of the earliest uses of text on coin rims to prevent clipping and counterfeiting. Every curve and symbol tells the story of early American craftsmanship. Before machines, before mass production, before perfection. Rarity and historical importance. So what makes this coin so valuable? 3 simple words. First, silver, half. It's one of the very first half-dollars ever produced by the United States. Collectors call it the birth of silver coinage. Because of its age, low mintage, and the fragile striking process, few survived in collectible condition. The ones that did are national treasures. Museum pieces, really. Experts believe fewer than 200 examples exist today, and of those, fewer than 10 are in truly high-grade or uncirculated condition. That's why when one appears at auction, the bidding wars are fierce, and the prices jaw-dropping. Market value and auction records. Let's talk numbers, because this coin doesn't just look beautiful. It performs beautifully in the market. Approximate market values as of today. Good, G4, 150,000, 200,000. Fine, F12, $300,000, $500,000. Extremely fine, XF40, $600,000, $900,000. Mint state, MS60 plus, $1,000, $1,500,000. Gem condition, MS65 and higher, $2 million plus. And here's the record breaker. A $7.93 flowing hair half-dollar graded MS66 by PCGS sold at auction for nearly $1.8 million. That's right, a single half-dollar coin, smaller than your palm, sold for the price of a luxury mansion. Collector insights and authentication. Because of its extreme rarity and high value, this coin has, of course, inspired counterfeits. Here's what collectors and experts look for to confirm authenticity. Lettered edge. Genuine coins feature raised lettering. 50 cents or half a dollar. D. Alignment. Early mint Ds weren't perfect. Slight rotation is normal. Strike weakness. Liberty's hair and eagle feathers often appear softly struck, a hallmark of real early minting. Certification. Only trust coins graded by PCGS, NGC, or Annex. Even heavily worn examples are considered treasures because of their historical importance. Why collectors love it. Collectors often say the 1794 half dollar isn't just a coin, it's a time machine. It connects them directly to the founding era of the United States, when George Washington was president and the nation's currency was still being defined. Owning one feels like holding the nation's first heartbeat, the sound of liberty echoing through time. It's a coin that represents courage, creation, and craftsmanship, the 3 C's of American numismatics. Legacy and inspiration. The flowing hair design only lasted 2 short years, 1794 and 1795, before being replaced by the draped bust design. But its influence endured for generations. Modern silver coins, such as the American Silver Eagle, still draw inspiration from that same flowing Liberty design. It's proof that great art never fades and evolves, even today. When collectors see that simple yet powerful image of Liberty's flowing hair, they see the soul of a new nation, bold, free, and beautiful. The 1794 flowing hair half dollar remains one of the most iconic and expensive half dollars in existence, a symbol of America's beginning, a masterpiece of early minting, and a dream coin for collectors worldwide. So next time you see an old silver coin, take a closer look. Because history, art, and fortune often hide in the smallest details. Script. The 1982 No P Kennedy half dollar, the mint mark that vanished. Coin number 2. Sometimes a simple mistake can make history. In 1982, one small oversight inside the Philadelphia Mint created one of the most famous modern errors in U.S. coinage. The 1982 No P Kennedy half dollar, a coin that looked ordinary, felt ordinary, but hid a secret right on its face. It was missing something tiny, just a single letter, but that missing P would make it one of the most hunted modern half dollars of all time. Let's uncover the mystery behind the 1982 No Mint Mark Kennedy half dollar, how it happened and why collectors still chase it today. The era of change. 1982 at the U.S. Mint. The early 1980s were a time of modernization at the U.S. Mint. New machinery, new coin dies, and a major shift in mint mark policy were underway. Until 1979, only the Denver D and San Francisco S mints regularly used mint marks. Philadelphia, the oldest U.S. mint, had traditionally struck coins without any mint mark at all. But in 1980, for the first time in history, the Philadelphia Mint began placing a P mint mark on certain coins, including the Kennedy half dollar. So by 1982, every half dollar struck in Philadelphia was supposed to proudly carry that P. But then a mistake happened. The error that slipped through. In early 1982, while preparing new working dies for the year's half dollar production, a die technician at the Philadelphia Mint forgot to add the P mint mark punch to one of the obverse dies. That single missing punch meant that every coin struck with that die would be missing its mint mark entirely. And because mint mark punching was done by hand in those days, such oversights were possible, though extremely rare. The die went into use. Thousands of coins were struck. And the No P Kennedy half dollar quietly entered circulation before anyone noticed. Discovery of the missing mint mark. The first reports came from coin collectors in the Cleveland, Ohio area in late 1982. They began noticing that some Kennedy half dollars had no mint mark at all, and even though all Philadelphia coins were supposed to have one, numismatists confirmed the find and quickly realized its importance. This wasn't just a weak strike or a worn-out die. The P mint mark was completely absent from the die itself. That made it an authentic die variety, not just a damaged coin. Once word spread, collectors across the country began searching their change and bankrolls for the mysterious No P, what the coin looks like. At first glance, the 1982 No P Kennedy half dollar looks completely normal. Obverse front, portrait of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The inscriptions Liberty and In God We Trust are in their usual positions. The date 1982 sits at the bottom, but where there should be a small P, to the right of Kennedy's neck, there's nothing. just smooth metal. Reverse, back. The classic presidential seal design by Frank Gasparo, surrounded by United States of America and half dollar. No unusual marks, no damage, just a clean, well-struck half dollar, minus its identity. Composition and specifications. By 1982, silver was long gone from circulating half dollars. This coin was part of the modern clad era, composed of base metals only. Composition: 75% copper, 25% nickel over a pure copper core. Weight 1134 grams. Diameter 30.6 millimeter. Edge reeded. There's no silver content. The value lies entirely in its numismatic rarity. Rarity and how many exist. No one knows exactly how many 1982 no-P half dollars were produced. The mint never released official figures, and after all, they didn't even realize the error until it was already out. But based on die wear patterns and collector estimates, experts believe fewer than 10,000 to 15,000 pieces were struck. That's an incredibly low number for a modern circulation coin. Most were released into bankrolls distributed in the Midwest and East Coast. A few thousand were quickly hoarded by collectors once the error became known. But the majority likely ended up in everyday use and were worn down or lost forever. Why it's so important? The 1982 no-P Kennedy half dollar marks a significant event in U.S. minting history. It was the first major mint mark error of the modern clad coinage era. Before this, mint marks had been hand-punched, but quality control was usually strict enough to catch such issues early. This mistake reminded everyone, even in the age of machines, human error still mattered. It's also the only known no-P variety in the entire Kennedy half dollar series. That uniqueness gives it legendary status among collectors. Market value 2025 estimates. Because of its rarity and historical importance, the no-P error commands strong prices today. Grade meet condition. Approx value USD. Circulated VFXF. $75 to $150. Use about uncirculated. $170 to $250. Mint state MS60, MS63. $300, $500. MS65 gem. $700, $900. MS66, MS67. For $200, 2,000 plus. The coin's value increases sharply with grade. Pristine. Fully lustrous examples are highly sought after. Certified examples from PCGS or NGC often sell at a premium, especially when labeled as discovery coin pedigrees. How to identify a true no-P? Because this coin's value is tied to its missing mint mark, counterfeiters have occasionally tried to fake it. Here's how to tell if you have the real thing. Date must be 1982. No other year is known to have the missing P. Mint mark area. Ungenuine errors. The area to the right of Kennedy's neck is smooth and flat, not filed or polished. No traces of the P under magnification. There should be no remnants of a partially struck mint mark. Weight and composition should match official clad half dollar. Specs 1134G. If in doubt, always have the coin certified by a reputable grading company. Theories and mystery. Collectors have debated for years how many dies were actually missing their mint marks. Some experts believe only one die was responsible, which would mean fewer than 10,000 coins in total. Others think a small batch of dies were created without the P, explaining why fines were scattered across several states. Either way, no official confirmation ever came from the mint. It remains one of those delightful mysteries that keep numismatists guessing and searching. Public reaction and collector frenzy. Once news of the missing mint mark spread through hobby magazines and coin clubs, excitement exploded. The 1982 no-P became a treasure hunt coin. Collectors began ordering bankrolls by the thousands, hoping to find one in their change. Local news outlets even ran stories about people discovering valuable half dollars in circulation. For many new collectors in the 1980s, this coin became their first big discovery. It turned ordinary pocket change into a mystery worth chasing. That emotional connection still drives its popularity today. Fun facts you might not know. Found mostly in the Midwest. Early reports came from Cleveland, Ohio, and surrounding areas. No proof version exists, the San Francisco. Mint produced 1982 S proofs, but none with the no S error. Weight check. Slight variations can help confirm authenticity. Counterfeits often deviate by 0.1 to 0.2 g. No silver despite its rarity. It contains 0 silver, pure base metal value plus collector demand. Still found in rolls. Occasionally, lucky collectors still find one today while searching bankrolls. Collector and investment tips. If you're looking to own one of these historic errors, here's how to do it smartly. Buy certified. Always purchase PCGS or NGC graded coins to avoid counterfeits. Check for strike quality. Sharper strikes with strong hair details are more desirable. Avoid cleaning. Polishing destroys the coin's surface and its collector value. Long-term hold. This error's popularity makes it a solid long-term investment for any Kennedy half-dollar set. Pair it with 1982D. Many collectors keep both 1982 issues together, one with a mint mark, one without. The legacy of the no-P error. Today, the 1982 no-P Kennedy half-dollar stands as a modern legend. A reminder that even in a world of machines, human touch still shapes history. It brought excitement back into a hobby that had grown quiet, and it continues to inspire new collectors every year. This wasn't a rare silver coin from the past. It was a modern mistake that turned ordinary change into treasure. And for many, it represents the thrill of discovery, that hidden hope that maybe, just maybe, there's still something special waiting in your pocket. The 1982 no-P Kennedy half-dollar proves that sometimes, it's the smallest details that make the biggest difference. A missing letter, a forgotten punch, a simple oversight that turned into one of the most iconic mint errors in modern history. It's not just a coin, it's a story of chance, curiosity, and the human touch behind every piece of metal we call money. So next time you see a 1982 Kennedy half-dollar, look closely, because one of them out there is still missing its P, and that tiny absence could be worth a fortune. Coin number 3, the 1970D Kennedy half-dollar, the last of the silver era. It's one of the most mysterious and overlooked coins in modern U.S. history, a coin that almost wasn't supposed to exist. The 1970D Kennedy half-dollar stands as the quiet end of a shining chapter, as the final 40% silver coin ever, made for circulation in the United States. For most collectors, it marks a turning point, the moment when silver left America's coinage forever. But what makes this half-dollar truly special is how rarely it was seen in actual circulation. Let's dive into the story of the 1970D Kennedy half-dollar, the low mintage finale of the Silver Age. By 1970, America had changed dramatically from the hopeful early 1960s. The space race had been won, the Vietnam War was dividing opinions, and inflation was eroding the value of money. Silver, once the backbone of U.S. coinage, had become too valuable for everyday use. From 1965 onward, the U.S. Mint had reduced the silver content of half-dollars to 40% and completely removed it from dimes and quarters. Even that reduced percentage couldn't last forever. By the end of the decade, the Mint announced, 1970 will be the last year silver is used in any circulating U.S. coin. That made the 1970 Kennedy half-dollar the final silver soldier of its kind, and collectors knew it. A coin hidden from the public. Here's where the story takes an unexpected twist. Although the 1970 Kennedy half-dollar was officially struck for circulation, it was never actually released into general use. The U.S. Mint decided to make the coin available only in special mint sets for collectors, not for banks, not for pocket change. That single decision turned the coin into an instant modern rarity. Because of this, only 250,000 pieces were minted at the Denver Mint, a tiny number, compared to the hundreds of millions made in earlier years. For example, in 1968, over 246 million half-dollars were produced. In 1969, nearly 130 million were struck. But in 1970, just a little over 2 million. That's less than 1% of normal production. So while millions of Americans continued using half-dollars with 1967-1969 dates, very few ever even saw 1970D, design that endured. Despite its rarity, the design of the 1970D remained faithful to the original 1964 Kennedy half-dollar. Obverse front, the left-facing portrait of John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The inscriptions "Liberty and God We Trust" and the date 1970. Reverse back, designed by Frank Gasparo, featuring the presidential seal, an eagle clutching olive branches and arrows, surrounded by 50 stars. The words "United States of America" and half-dollar. The D mint mark appears just below Kennedy's neck truncation. Although visually familiar, it symbolized the end of an era. the final silver-backed echo of a design that began as a national memorial. Composition and technical specs. Composition 40% silver, 60% copper. Weight 11.5 grams. Diameter 30.6 millimeter. Edge reeded. Silver content 0.1479 troy ounces of pure silver. While not as silver-rich as its 1964 predecessor, the 1970D still carries real intrinsic value from its silver content, and even more from its scarcity. No other circulating U.S. coin after this one contained any silver. That alone makes it a historic milestone in U.S. coinage. Rarity, hoarding, and collector craze. When the U.S. Mint released the 1970 mint sets containing this coin, collectors immediately noticed its exclusivity. There was no way to find it in circulation. No chance of discovering it in your change or at the bank. The only way to get it was to buy the official 1970 mint set from the Treasury for a few dollars. Naturally, demand skyrocketed. Mint sets sold out quickly, and soon after, prices began to climb on the secondary market. Coin dealers started advertising the 1970D as a key date, and it truly was the lowest mintage Kennedy half-dollar ever struck for decades. Because the coin was only distributed in sets, most surviving examples today are still in uncirculated condition, preserved exactly as they left the mint. Market value 2025 estimates. Let's talk value, because this coin, while modern-looking, can be surprisingly valuable today. Approx market value USD. Grade meet condition. Circulated, if found loose, 25 35. Mint state MS60, MS63, 40, 70, MSN65. Gem uncirculated. $100, $150. MS67 high-end. $300, $450. Proof-like choice deep cameo from special sets. $500, 3,000 plus. And remember, since the 1970D was never in wide circulation, most examples are mint state by default. Truly pristine, fully lustrous coins can fetch 4 figures at auction if they have exceptional eye appeal. Varieties and errors to watch for. While the 1970D wasn't struck in large numbers, a few varieties and minor errors still exist, making it even more interesting for collectors. Double die obverse, DDO. Some coins show slight doubling on the date or the word liberty. High-grade cameos, brilliant. Frosty finishes are rare since most were from business strikes, not proofs. Off-center strikes. A few are known, often selling for several $100s each. Collectors love hunting these varieties. It adds another layer of rarity to an already scarce coin. Why it matters in U.S. coin history. The 1970D Kennedy half dollar is significant not because of a dramatic design or high silver content, but because of what it represents. It symbolizes the final breath of the silver era, the end of traditional American coinage tied to precious metal value. After this, from 1971 onward, all half-dollars were made entirely of copper-nickel clad, the same metal mix used today. So the 1970D is like a bridge between two worlds, the world of silver coins and collectible artistry, and the world of modern base metal currency. For many collectors, it's the last true classic of the Kennedy series. Fun facts you didn't know. No circulation release. It's the only Kennedy half-dollar not issued to the public in 40% silver form. Hidden in mint sets, every authentic 1970D originally came from a sealed government mint set. Melt value. Even with today's silver prices, each coin's melt value is around 4 or 5, but collector premiums push it much higher. Collector nickname, some call it the ghost coin, because you'd never find it in your change. Historical milestone. Marks the end of silver coin production in the U.S., officially closing the chapter that began in 1794. Tips for collectors and investors. If you're building a Kennedy half-dollar collection, the 1970D is a must-have key date. Here's what to look for. Uncirculated luster. Coins should have strong frosty surfaces and minimal marks. Mint set source. Make sure your coin came from an official 1970 U.S. mint set. Authenticity matters. Certified grading. For investment-grade coins, look for slabs from PCGS or NGC. Avoid cleaned coins. Polished coins lose their value instantly. Hold long-term. This coin's low mintage and historical importance ensure steady appreciation. It's not just a collectible. It's a time capsule from a moment when silver vanished from everyday life. The legacy of the 1970D half-dollar. The Kennedy half-dollar series continues to this day. But the 1970D stands apart. It represents finality, the last of the silver lineage, exclusivity and never released to the public. Historical transition, from silver to clad, from tangible value to symbolic worth. Every collector who holds one knows they're holding the end of an American era. The 1970D Kennedy half-dollar may not shimmer like gold or fetch millions at auction, but its story is one of quiet greatness, a coin that marked a turning point in U.S. history. It was never meant for your pocket. It was meant for remembrance, a small, silver farewell to a time when our coins carried the weight of real value. So if you ever find a 1970D in a collection or a forgotten mint set, hold it close. You're touching the final silver heartbeat of America's circulating coinage. Coin number 4, the 1964 Kennedy half-dollar, a nation's tribute in silver. It was the coin that captured a nation's heartbreak. The 1964 Kennedy half-dollar, a gleaming silver tribute to a fallen president, struck in the shadow of tragedy and born from a moment that changed America forever. In the history of U.S. coinage, few coins have carried as much emotion, symbolism, and historical weight as this one. It wasn't just metal. It was memory, minted in silver. The moment America stopped. On November 22, 1963, President John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas. The nation was plunged into shock and mourning. People wanted a way to remember him, not just through speeches or monuments, but something they could carry close. Within hours, the U.S. Mint and the Treasury received countless suggestions. Rename a building, issue a stamp, or create a memorial coin. By early December 1963, barely weeks after his death, a decision was made. Kennedy's portrait would appear on the half-dollar. The race to honor a president. Time was short. Usually it takes years to design and approve a new coin. But this one had to be ready fast, and the nation demanded it. Chief engraver Gilroy Roberts and assistant engraver Frank Gasparo were chosen to design the coin. They used an existing Kennedy portrait Roberts had sculpted for the presidential medal, a fitting, dignified image of the late president. By February 1964, just 3 months after the tragedy, the first Kennedy half-dollars rolled out of the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The public response? Overwhelming. Lines formed at banks. People wept as they held the new coin, a shining silver remembrance of JFK. Design that defined an era. Let's break down the symbolism behind this historic coin. Obverse, a front, a left-facing bust of President John F. Kennedy. Above, liberty. Below, in God we trust, and the date 1964. The portrait was strong yet graceful, a reflection of Kennedy's youth, leadership, and legacy of hope. Reverse, back. Designed by Frank Gasparo, featuring the presidential seal, an eagle with a shield, holding an olive branch and arrows, surrounded by 50 stars. The words United States of America and half-dollar. This was the first time a coin displayed the full presidential seal, a powerful symbol of authority, freedom, and unity. The last true silver half-dollar. Now here's what makes the 1964 Kennedy half-dollar so special for collectors and investors alike. Unlike later issues, the 1964 version was struck in 90% silver and 10% copper. Each coin contains 0.367 troy ounces of pure silver, the same silver content as the Franklin half-dollar before it. But this was the last time a regular circulating half-dollar was made of nearly pure silver. From 1965 onward, silver content dropped to 40%, and by 1971, it disappeared altogether from circulation coins. That makes the 1964 Kennedy half-dollar a true silver relic of America's coinage history. Mint marks and production. In 1964, the coin was minted at 2 major facilities. Philadelphia Mint, no mint mark. Denver Mint, marked D. Together, they produced a staggering over 430 million coins, one of the largest mintages ever for a half-dollar. But here's the twist. Despite that massive number, very few actually circulated. Why? Because people hoarded them. Collectors, investors, and ordinary Americans saved the coins as keepsakes, a tribute to Kennedy's memory and for their high silver value. Banks ran out of stock within hours. Even decades later, finding a heavily worn 1964 Kennedy half-dollar in change is almost impossible. The rare proof in special strikes. In addition to circulation coins, the Philadelphia Mint also struck around 3.9 million proof coins in 1964. These proofs, made for collectors, feature deep mirror-like surfaces and crisp details. They are among the most beautiful silver proofs ever made. However, within those proofs lies one of the most famous minting errors of the series, the 1964 accented hair variety. This early design version, showing slightly more detailed hairlines above Kennedy's ear, was quickly modified. Only a small number were made before the change, and today, these accented hair proofs are highly prized by collectors. Market value and modern prices, 2025 estimates. Even though the 1964 Kennedy half-dollar had a large mintage, its silver content and emotional legacy keep demand strong. Here's what collectors are paying today, 2025 values. 1964 accented hair proof. Grade. Common 1964, 1964D, 1964 proof. Fine F12. $10-15, $10-15. Extremely fine XF. $18-25, $18-25. Mint state MS65. 35 and 60, 35, 75, 100, 200, 400 and $800. Gem proof, cameo. $200, $600, $800, $2,000 upload. And for collectors who love bulk silver, each coin's melt value alone is around $9-10 USD depending on silver prices. But as always, the story behind the coin is what gives it true value, symbolism, and legacy. The 1964 Kennedy half-dollar represents more than just numismatic beauty. It's a national symbol, a coin that transformed grief into remembrance. It marked the end of the Silver Age in American coinage, the beginning of a new commemorative tradition, and most importantly, the love of a nation for its fallen leader. For many Americans, owning one was like holding a small piece of history, a tangible connection to the Camelot era of Kennedy's presidency. Even today, the coin evokes strong emotion. You'll often find it displayed in homes, passed down through families, or tucked safely in coin albums. It's not rare in number, it's rare in meaning. Why collectors still love it. Collectors and investors continue to chase high-grade 1964 Kennedys for several reasons. 90% silver composition, the last year before the U.S. reduced silver content, making it a tangible investment piece.
Historical significance.
Directly linked to one of the most significant moments in 20th century America. Design excellence, bold, elegant, and timeless, a favorite for both classic and modern coin enthusiasts. Variety hunt, proofs, accented hair, and FBL-style strike differences keep the chase exciting. Emotional appeal. It's a coin that tells a story, and one that collectors feel, not just study. Whether you collect for profit, beauty, or sentiment, this coin checks every box. The 1964 Kennedy silver half-dollar is more than just a coin. It's a reflection of an era and of hope, tragedy, and unity. Minted for just 1 year in pure silver, it stands as a bridge between the old and new America. Every time light catches its surface, it reminds us of a president whose words still echo. Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. And that's exactly what makes this half-dollar one of the most cherished and emotional coins in U.S. history. Coin number 5, 1948, 1963. Franklin half-dollar, the coin that spoke of liberty. The Franklin half-dollar minted from 1948 to 1963. This coin wasn't just metal. It was a symbol of liberty, intellect, and American pride. And even though it had a short life before being replaced by the Kennedy half-dollar, its legacy and value are truly timeless. So sit tight, because by the end of this video, you might just want to check your coin jar. You never know what treasure could be hiding there. The birth of the Franklin half-dollar. The story of the Franklin half-dollar begins shortly after World War II. America was entering a new age, confident, victorious, and ready to celebrate its heroes. And one name stood above the rest: Benjamin Franklin. In 1947, U.S. Mint Director Nellie Taylor Ross, the first woman to ever hold that position, had a vision. She wanted Franklin's face on a coin, not because of politics, but because of what he represented: wisdom, invention, and freedom of thought. Franklin had already been featured on stamps and medals, but never on circulating U.S. coinage. Ross pushed hard to make it happen. And finally, in 1948, the first Franklin half-dollars rolled out of the Philadelphia Mint, the design that made history. The coin was designed by John R. Sinek, The U.S. Mint's chief engraver, Cynic, had previously designed Franklin's portrait for a medal years earlier, and he adapted it for this new coin. The obverse features a bold and realistic bust of Benjamin Franklin with his distinctive hair, calm expression, and scholar's dignity. Above him, the word liberty. Below, in God we trust. To the right, the year of mintage. The reverse is where things get even more symbolic. You'll see the Liberty Bell, one of the most powerful icons in American history, complete with its famous crack. To the right of the bell is a small eagle, required by law on all half-dollars. But this combination caused a bit of controversy. Critics said the Liberty Bell's crack was unattractive. Others felt that Franklin, known for his wit and science, not military heroism, didn't fit the image of a coin. Still, the Franklin half-dollar went into production, and soon it became one of the most loved designs of the post-war era. Mint marks and production years. The Franklin half-dollar was minted in 3 U.S. facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver D; San Francisco S. Production ran from 1948 to 1963, ending abruptly after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The following year, 1964, saw the release of the Kennedy half-dollar, which replaced Franklin permanently. But within those 15 years of minting, there are key differences that collectors treasure today. For example, 1949's, one of the lowest mintages, making it a top collectible. 1955, produced in very small numbers, rare and high grade. Thorcenter, tough to find with sharp details. Full bell line, FBL, coins. These are special because the bottom lines of the Liberty Bell are fully struck. Collectors pay huge premiums for coins with this feature, the silver standard and composition. Each Franklin half-dollar is made of 90% silver and 10% copper. That gives it a silver weight of 0.3617 troy ounces. Real, tangible precious metal. Back in the 1950s, that wasn't unusual. But after 1964, rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to remove silver from circulating coins. That's why Franklin halves became so special. They represent the end of the true silver era in U.S. coinage. Today, even a worn Franklin half-dollar is worth far more than its face value just for the silver content. But for collectors, it's not about the metal. It's about the story, the art, and the connection to America's golden age. Key dates and varieties. Let's look at some of the most valuable Franklin half-dollars. 1949's, low mintage of only about 3.7 million. In uncirculated full bell lines condition, it can fetch 3,000, 7,000. Poor strike quality makes this one of the hardest to find in gem condition. Worth 1,000, 5,000 depending on grade. The rarest in the entire series with just 2.4 million minted. In FBL gem grade, prices exceed $5,000, $10,000. 1963D, final year of issue, symbolic and collectible, especially in proof-like condition. And speaking of proof coins, between 1950 and 1963, the Philadelphia Mint struck special proof sets for collectors. These shimmering mirror-like versions often command hundreds to thousands of dollars, depending on their condition. Market value, today's prices, 2025 estimate. As of today, the market value of Franklin half-dollars continues to rise, especially for coins graded by PCGS or NGC. Here's a rough guide as of 2025. Key date, 1949's, 1955, value, grade. Common date value, good, G4. Troyth 50, $100, extremely fine, XF40. 2040, $200, $400, mint state, MS65. 60, 150, 1,000, 3,000. Full bell lines, MS66 FBL, $200, $600, 5,000 plus. And that's not counting the silver value, which alone is worth around $810 per coin based on the current silver price. Rare proof coins, especially cameo or deep cameo strikes, can reach 3,000, 10,000 at major auctions. Legacy of the Franklin half-dollar. The Franklin half-dollar wasn't flashy. It didn't celebrate war heroes or modern politics. It celebrated intelligence, invention, and the peaceful pursuit of freedom. It's the only U.S. coin to feature a non-president and the Liberty Bell together. It's also the last half-dollar struck entirely in silver for circulation. In a way, it represents the end of an era, when coins were not just currency, but symbols of ideals. Collectors today see it as a bridge between the classical designs of the early 1900s, and the modern memorial coins that came after. It's both history and art, captured in silver. And that's the story of the 1948-1963 Franklin half-dollar, a coin that turned Benjamin Franklin's genius into something every American could hold in their hand. If you've ever found one in a drawer, a jar, or a collection, hold on to it. Because that's not just 50 cents. It's a piece of living history. Thanks for watching OldCoin Secrets. If you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe, and ring the Liberty bell. That notification bell. Because we've got more rare coin stories coming your way soon.